And we're live. So welcome
Wow.
to. Yeah, no, nobody. I don't think anybody was in on that conversation. But Mike, if you want to
Talk
continue
about
on
continuous.
what the porn dungeon conversation kind of fits in with the Neil Gaiman aesthetic, I would say.
Yeah, I
But
would agree.
yeah, anyways, I am Jackson from Just Annoyed, and I've got my pals Mike and ComicManAndy here as well. And we are here today to talk about the very strange Sandman Volume 3. And this one is strange for a different reason than the first two were strange. So I guess we will let everyone introduce themselves, and let's start with Andy today.
Oh boy. Hey, I'm Comic Man Andy here to hang out and talk some Sandman. Comic Man Andy of the Pinkies Out podcast. We're getting ready to get the camper out and do an epic episode of Pinkies Out podcast. We're looking forward to that. And you guys can find me on the Comic Core in my own channel.
Sweet. Thank you, sir. And Mike from Downright Nerdy.
Cool. Hey, what's up, man? I'm Mike from Downright Nerdy Podcast. We're a bit of a hiatus for our weekly podcast, but you can also find me here on Downright Annoyed with Comic Man Andy, and on our weekly show Downright Annoyed with Movies with Jackson from Just Annoyed, amongst other podcasters. So make sure you guys check that out.
Sweet. And you are watching this here, so I don't have to tell you where to find me, but all the podcast platforms, all that fun stuff. So this week we read Volume 3 of The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. I believe it was called, what was this one called? It's called like
Dream Country.
Dream Country. So this one was a bit interesting because we were kind of following a narrative plot through the Sandman thus far. And this one was 4 issues instead of 8, like the first 2 volumes were. And this one was 4 completely separate stories that don't seem to have much, if any, connective tissue. But maybe I missed something.
No, I think you're 100% right. There was nothing that was connected with this at all. I mean, there are some characters that were the same from the first 2 volumes, but I didn't really see too much connection within each storyline of these 4 issues.
Yeah. And Andy, what did you think of this, Andy?
Oh man, when you open up and get into that first story, I was like, okay, this is gonna be weird. It's gonna be creepy. It's gonna be dark. But I think the standalone stories hurt it for me, to be honest. And I'll go deeper into that here in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that as far as enjoying the Sandman thus far, this is the least I have enjoyed reading a volume of this. I would agree. Now, one story in particular, I think I have to be fair and say that I didn't really enjoy it because I don't have the knowledge or contextual background to enjoy it. I don't know the characters that are in it, maybe as well as someone who's a fan of a certain famous playwright would know them. But outside of that, I thought that the individual stories were pretty good. But I think the best way to talk about this volume is to just do each one. So, Mike, if you want to start by describing the first one, if you can remember what it was, that's kind of a
First off,
sign.
Did you guys read the forward?
Yes.
Did you notice that this one looks like Lion Cat?
I did see that, yeah.
It does look like Lion Cat. Yeah.
As soon as I opened this, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to love it." This is probably where Saga stole its great idea, but no. So, so yeah. So it starts out with this author who is he has like writer's block or something. So he trades some weird hairball God, what are those, like a tribble looking kind of thing, to, I don't know who, I can't remember who I know this character is from one of the older volumes. I just don't remember where. Do you guys?
The other writer who has been keeping
other
the
writer.
news for 60 years or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't. But either way, he trades this little tribble thing for a woman who is supposed to be able to grant him the gift of desire, I would assume. Maybe, I guess, like if he wants to be able to write these masterpieces, she will give him that. For some reason, in order to do that, he has to rape her, which is fucking weird. But yeah, that happens, and apparently she was also she helped the previous guy who was a writer, the owner of who was a writer, and also people like Homer and whatnot. And she's essentially a prisoner, and she reaches out to the Sandman, who is also, I guess, the father of one of her children. Who was I? Am I correct in saying that the child is now dead?
Yeah, there was some sort of a tragic thing that happened. Now,
Something happened.
Calliope, I believe, or
Yeah.
Calliope is the name of the muse, and she actually is a Greek mythological figure. So she's based on the muse who presides over eloquence and epic poetry. So apparently she has ecstatic harmony in her voice, and she was considered the chief of all muses. So that was pulled directly out of Greek mythology, that character. So she has been around forever. And yes, over the last 50 or 60 years or whatever, she has been held by that other character. His name is Fry. And he basically trades her for this hairball thing, which was interesting. And I wasn't clear on, did he have to rape her or did he just do it because he's a piece of shit?
Well, he stopped thinking of her as a human being and
Right.
just thought of her as a
It's
toy.
a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And that was kind of how the characters, they really treated her as a possession, not as if she was human. I thought this one was good though. Like I thought it was interesting. It just isn't a continuation of the story.
It fell flat at the end at the end of the volume when I realized that there was going to be no follow up to it.
Yeah, it was. It's
I feel like
interesting.
this could be something that could be way intertwined with a whole bunch of other stories, but it just never was.
Well,
it would have been interesting if we saw like a cat or something in this, which would tie it into the.
And apparently, the stories talked about within this volume are also touched on in other Neil Gaiman books. So like this is he's got like kind of a shared universe thing going on there. But Andy, what'd you think of the first issue here?
It's a little, like I said, first open it up and they've got this little tribble thing and they're talking about how this one was rescued from a girl's stomach and how it's got magical properties. I'm like, oh, this is gonna get disgustingly dark. And he just trades it for the muse, but they never really go into detail on what the little tribble thing was about, besides the trade and besides that older guy had been looking for quite some time.
Yeah, and we don't learn anything about why he wants those. Right.
Yeah. And then you just kind of turn to a writer who hasn't been able to write anything, and now all of a sudden he's like, he develops into one of the greatest writers, and he's a sadist, and just kind of it's thankfully it wasn't as graphic as it could have been, because that was already kind of difficult to like, wow, they're really gonna kind of go here with this.
Yes.
But without spoiling it too much, they went there. What you asked me what I thought about this. I thought it was going to be a lot darker and a lot creepier and a lot more Sandman related or based. And this is that opening volley where you realize that it's not going to be really based around Sandman at all. And he just plays a supporting role.
Yeah, but he does play an awesome role in this first story, though. I thought, like the way he makes the guy get his, his comeuppance is pretty awesome, I thought, and disturbing and fucked up, but he deserves it. So I didn't feel too. But yeah. So the whole point is
the hands. Oh my god, that got me right there. Like
right. Well, and he the main character. He wrote one good book. He was like a one-hit wonder writer, and he needed ideas. So he gets ideas from this muse, and then the muse has this past relationship with the Sandman. She prays for something, and these other Greek women gods show up and basically say, like, we can't help you out of this until he frees you. This is just how it has to be. And she asks, and I forget what she calls the Sandman, but it's not anything we've heard yet. It's not Morpheus. It's not it's not Dream God or whatever it is. But yeah, she refers to him like send him, and he shows up. And
Neros.
Yeah, and he shows up, and essentially he gives the bad guy the opposite problem, where he just floods his head with
ideas.
crazy ideas till he loses his mind and starts, ripping himself apart. So I thought that was pretty neat. But
yeah, and then he's got so many good ideas and he's got so many amazing dreams that he runs out of paper and pens and pencils to write things down. And then one panel he describes about how he used his fingers on the wall to scratch the ideas into the walls to the point where his fingers were down to the bone. And that's why they get all bony and long like that and disgusting looking.
yeah, but again, though, to your point, Andy, even though like I can appreciate this as a story, but I was really having fun following like the Sandman lore up to here.
I thought we were opening up volume 3 into the rebuilding of the dream world more so after everything that had taken place in volume 2. So this was, I was like, is this what they call
it just took a left turn?
Yeah, complete left turn.
Which isn't bad. I like Jackson said, like the lore and the time that it appears that Neil Gaiman is taking to create this like this world doing this world building with his history is, I think it, while it is my least favorite of the 3 volumes, I still got a lot of enjoyment out of these 4 issues.
I got a lot of enjoyment out of three of them. But let's talk about the second one, which was probably my favorite of the 4, with the cats. So who wants to take that? Andy, you wanna give the plot of the cat story?
This is where I became a little more distant with this read, because this is when I was like, okay, they really aren't gonna get back into the Sandman story. This is really gonna be like individual reads. And I just struggled with why they were approaching it like this and why there was some dark nuances to this. Basically, this, if I'm remembering and understood this correctly, this cat it's this little cat that wakes up and wonders why cats are cats and why human beings are human beings. And then one of the cats that it visits talks about how I think the family wrapped up its babies and like drowned them in the pond. And it was really dark, and it said, "This is the way the world is. Go see the Dream Cat to find out more." Right? Or do I have that?
Sounds batshit. Yeah, is that what happened to the kittens? Did they kill the kittens? I thought they just like got rid of them.
That's what I thought. I thought that like this was like a breeding cat of some sort, and they sold them off or something.
Yeah,
well,
because
the Siamese, the cats that came out were
Siamese
were Blue Point, which weren't apparently.
Yeah, they were mutts because the cat was in heat and got outside, and it got sexually assaulted by another cat, and that's just what I call it.
Here you go. I'm sharing screen right now.
All right, do it up. But yes, basically, there's this cat that goes on this little mini adventure to go visit the Dream Cat. And I thought that this one was kind of neat because
here's the kittens. Here's the kittens being born.
Okay.
This is where it gets dark. They're in the closet. The mom and the dad are back there talking about, you didn't lock her in. Stop complaining. And they're like bickering back and forth. And the cat's just trying to be a cat and doing his thing. And then you can see this is where it just starts tugging at your heartstrings. They're tossing them in the bag. And they take the bag and they toss the damn thing in the fucking pond.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
With a rock. I'm like, who the fuck does that? This is terrible.
Yeah, that is terrible.
Like at this point right now, I'm like, oh my God, no.
You know what? Neil Gaiman has really, he is an unbelievably fucked up mind. Just throughout this entire series so far. He goes to some pretty twisted places, which I like. I thought this one was kind of cool because it showed that the Sandman isn't all just like a human thing, like a human earthly thing. Like the dream god exists for everything that is conscious and sentient. You know what I mean?
And not to get ahead of ourselves too, but when we later on in this series, when we see Death, the sister of what you call it, she says that Death is everywhere. Like across, I'm here right now. I'm here in Afghanistan or somewhere else where there's a city being destroyed. I'm here on the other side of the universe where a planet's about to be decimated. I'm everywhere. So there's multiple. Like these are not like these are omnipresent type of beings that are all over at all one time.
Yeah.
Maybe not all one time, but yeah, they're all over.
Well, and they're even in the cat world apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which Mike, did you like the cat one?
So I hate cats, but I enjoyed this.
Well, I'm see ya. We're
Yeah,
gonna go
I know,
ahead and
right?
remove. We're gonna remove Mike from the stream. I'm a cat guy, so f you, f
No.
you, Mike. No, so yes, I'm a cat guy, so I naturally really like this. And we actually had two Blue Point Siamese cats when I was growing up. So and the way the art was with the eyes, like the sad looking cat eyes in the artwork were cool, like the bright blue against it had like a black and white kind of it reminded me of like a Wolfman movie or something, from like the way it looked to me was great. That panel right there that you're about to share, Andy. This I mean, that just looks fucking cool. And the idea of cats now it is interesting though, because I can't say that I'm getting anywhere by reading these though.
Right?
Like, yeah. So like I almost like if somebody gave me just that, like, oh, here's a few really bizarre, cool, one issue read comics, and I read them, I would probably appreciate them more than I did, because I'm pumped about, like, I was excited to read more Sandman, to learn more about the story, the narrative story that's been happening. And this felt like a detour to me. I hope 4 gets back to, the Sandman we know and love. So, but yes. Anything else from the cat story though? So basically, the dream cat like explains that everyone, if 1,000 cats dream, basically there was a time when the cats were the rulers and the humans were like the little cat-sized pets, and they dreamed of like a better world where they would be the rulers, and it happened. And if the cats do that, then it will go back. Am I correct in that? Was the
Yeah, they're saying that that's how the world started, was that they were large and in charge like that. And that first panel opens up with a cat laying there just like purring away, and there's 3 humans on top of it grooming it. And now humans are a tenth the size of that cat, basically.
Yes.
So they're grooming it and cleaning them up, and the cats are running around. And then it shows the next panel, the cat's like hunting the humans at night, because it's like mice are just piddly garbage that we hunt
Right.
now. That's what we have left. We used to hunt humans. And it shows a cat just eating a human, which is hilarious. But then it showed on the next page, it talked about how one man came along and said, dreams shape the world. Dreams create the world anew every night. And he bands people together and says, the more people that we get together to dream and dream together, we can change this world into how we want it to be.
That guy almost looked like a human form version of the Sandman a little bit.
So you think it's like a metaphor for, people band together and you can make anything possible? Is that the message here then?
I don't know. I don't think it's that deep. I think it's just showing that Sandman just crosses across all forms of life.
Well, they've talked about in volume, near the beginning of volume, end of volume 1, beginning of volume 2, about when that one girl got out and became like the dream suck, or the dream, whatever it was. Everybody started dreaming the same thing, and they started dreaming within themselves of each other and in their own little realm.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe Mike's onto something here.
There you go.
No.
All right.
Well,
Now sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say we won't find out in this volume. We'll find out, and maybe we'll find out in the next one.
Yeah. So the third story is the Midsummer Night's Dream Shakespeare story, and this was the one I was talking about, where I'm reading it clueless, because I remember like in elementary school or middle school or something, we actually did read A Midsummer's Night's Dream, and we like watched the play or whatever. But I don't remember it at all. And I'm assuming if you knew that story, then this made a whole lot more sense and affected you in a whole different way, because I don't know any of the Midsummer Night's Dream lore. I don't know the story. I don't know the characters. And it seemed to me that the idea here was that A Midsummer's Night's Dream actually was based on these real otherworldly characters that actually exist in this world. That's what I got from it. But I don't know them, so I don't really care.
Well, I don't know, because I mean, so the whole premise of this is that Will Shakespeare owes the Sandman 2 plays. This one, and then another one that he's going to write later at the end of his career or life. I can't remember which. Will Shakespeare is traveling with his whole band of people who are in this play, and they get stopped in the middle of this weird field with the Sandman. He's like, "Hey, well, I'm here right now. I got my people." And then Sandman all these portals start opening where these people from other realms, these creatures from other realms, come at the behest of Sandman and to watch this play, right? And from what I gathered is that like a lot of these creatures used to be a part of this world, but have somehow or for some reason left. Now, I think that this is just it's kind of similar to the cat story, where it's just introducing another realm of reality. Like Sandman has his dream reality. We have our actual plane, like the conscious plane, and then there's these other planes that have fairies and what the hell is that? The Griffin? No. Gryffindor? Not Gryffindor. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like
Yeah, but very clearly the creatures and fairies and stuff who are there to see the play are recognizing themselves as characters in the play.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess my point though is like I feel like if I was like a William Shakespeare aficionado and I knew my Shakespeare, there's probably some like meta type references and things that I could kind of glean from this that I couldn't because I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's where I was like not nearly as invested as I could have been. And it's funny because I've got the Wikipedia for the volume open here, and apparently people like think this is like one of the best high points of the entire series.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so apparently this stuff is going to the issue received a World Fantasy Award for short fiction in 91. Apparently this is going to be something that does come back and play a role, this whole William Shakespeare thing. So this is, hopefully it's more in an issue that like it was last time William Shakespeare got brought up, because I thought that was neat. Like I didn't need to know my Shakespeare to understand that, but this one I felt like I was a little lost on this one, to be honest with you. That's just being honest. Andy, what did you think of this issue?
This was painful. I continued to read through it in hopes of watching them basically storm down the hill and start eating the humans because the play was not good enough or something like that. I'm not a Shakespeare fan. I'm not a playwright fan Midsummer Night's Dream. Yeah, I probably watched it 30 years ago or something like that, however long ago. So I have no memory of it. And if it's going to come back and play a role, then I guess I better reread it because at some point, because I will be honest, I probably only read about a third of all of this.
Really?
This issue, the dialogue is painful. I can't stand the dialogue.
It's very
English.
Yeah, yes. The fake old English kind of dialogue is just painful to try to read through because it just doesn't flow. It's like,
I'm with you, man. I felt the same way. I don't want to sit here and shit on it and say it's bad because I don't feel like that's fair. Obviously Neil Gaiman is a Shakespeare fan, I would imagine, and that's where this is coming from. If I was a Shakespeare fan, I probably would have loved this, but I don't know my Shakespeare, so I can't. It's almost one of those where it's like I'm gonna have to sit myself out on this one because I don't understand it,
While this is probably my least favorite of the 4 issues, I don't know. I still got enjoyment out of it. I feel like I didn't really need to know as much. I mean, I would assume if I knew more lore, it would be I probably would enjoy it more, just like everybody who voted for that thing back in '91 thought. But the idea that Neil Gaiman is using the Sandman character to go back and talk and reference like these stories that Shakespeare wrote, or even some Greek mythology. he's using all these historical events and relating it to Sandman and creating Sandman stories out of them. And I thought I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gung ho on Sandman. Like, I'm not, any less inclined to read it. It kind of made me want to watch A Midsummer Night's Dream just so I could reread the book and understand what the fuck was happening, though. Because like the one character, the goblin-looking guy, like eats the person who's playing him in the play. Like he like takes his place. I thought that was kind of cool, but beyond that, and I liked all the bits where the fairy people are kind of telling each other to shut up because they're trying to pay attention to what's happening. I thought that was good. But yeah, it was just weird. Now, are we to assume that this deal was made between Sandman and Shakespeare, the last we saw Shakespeare when he met him in that bar or whatever?
I don't think so. I think there's going to be more, like you said. I think there's going to be more future stories with Shakespeare where we're going to see more of their history and why he owes him 2 plays.
Well, because there was the bit in the awesome issue that was, and I want to stress how awesome a lot of this series has been so far, and probably one of the best issues so far was when Sandman was meeting that guy in the tavern every 100 years.
Yeah.
And there was a moment in that one where Shakespeare showed up and everybody just kind of thought he was a joke. Remember? And he walked off with Sandman, and then 100 years later, the dude was like, "What did you do?" You know what I mean? Like, how the fuck did you? I think that happened. Maybe I'm misremembering that.
No, you're remembering correctly because I think it was Shakespeare was sitting off in the corner with a broken leg, and he had it propped up on a stool, and he was talking to the other guy that he was seeing every 100 years, and he said, "Oh, that's just the new guy named Shakespeare. He's quite a decent playwright right now, but he could be better," or something to that effect.
Right.
So I do remember that.
What would have been interesting is that if they mixed this one in with the first volume, The Woman, right? Callis, whatever her name was, and have Shakespeare have hit the history between that being like she was Shakespeare's possession during his time as a playwright, and then
I see what you mean.
Became all that. That'd be a fun way to intertwine all that stuff.
There you go. No, there was none of that.
I guess that would be the.
But yeah, how does this one end? I don't even see. That's just it. I don't even remember how this one ended.
Well, it looks like they wake up on the side of the hill where they were essentially doing the play, and they all wake up to, well, was that a dream? And then he pulls out, and dream will foresee a pouch of gold, and he turns it upside down, and the only thing that falls out are flowers.
Yeah,
and the gold is gone.
But then the little what's his name? The
goblin character,
little goblin guy. Yeah, he's all like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be the last goblin or something on this plane. So he stays out here. It would have been cool to see more of him because he was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Right.
So he stayed then. So he stayed. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Anyway,
so I guess that's the 3rd issue. Now the 4th one is the ex-superhero who's part of some superhero Justice League type society, I think.
They mentioned the CIA a number of times.
She's got a fucked up face. And Andy, question for you, because me and Mike talked about it and we don't know, or we think not, but is this a character from DC? Or is this just someone made up for this?
Not to my knowledge. And honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised to hear you guys think about going to the DC realm of things or to a superhero realm of things, because never reading this before, my first read of this issue, I really felt like this person was assigned to the Secret Service, the CIA, and then they became a test subject for chemicals that was big, that was rampant in the 50s and 60s and the early 70s. So this was written in late 70s, early 80s. So they're kind of carrying on some of that old news of chemical testing with subjects, with human beings. And then this person ended up not necessarily becoming a superhero, but became unkillable. Okay. Absorbed all the toxins, and the toxins, this person's body wasn't even really a body anymore.
She almost kind of became like a mummy, huh?
Yeah.
Just no blood, no nothing.
No blood, no heartbeat, no.
And I cheated while you were talking, Andy. Element Girl, DC Comics.
Oh, it is. Okay, wow.
First appearance was in Metamorpho in February of 1967. So I've never heard of this. She began as a spy for the U.S. government. But yes, you're correct.
What's her name?
That's
Element
Girl.
Element Girl.
So it's interesting that he brings an element of pun not intended. He brings another element of DC back into the story, so to speak. Because there was quite the departure from the DC aspect when after the first couple of issues it started getting really good and standing on its own. There was quite the departure from DC, and that's when the three of us felt the story got really good.
Yes. I the first volume had a bunch of DC, and then you could almost feel that, like, okay, we think this can stand on its own 2 feet. Although, judging by the three of us, I mean, if he wanted to use DC as like something to prop up his book, he would have used a character that people actually fucking know. But this one was kind of depressing because it's about this woman who essentially has, like, she's now basically she's retired, so to speak. She's like living off of a pension of some sort, and she's stuck in this house, and she's hideously ugly. And she's got like these masks that she can wear when she goes out in public. But it's just really sad because she's like, once a week she can call like the head of whatever organization it is that she works for. And they do make reference to the CIA, I think, Andy, to your point.
They do. Yes. The woman that she has lunch with, who says that she's pregnant, she's like, "Oh, I'm part of the CIA. You're not part of them anymore. So you're the only one I can talk to."
Yeah, and then she calls those like disabled kids that leave the restaurant with like balloons for their birthday freaks.
Yeah. Jesus.
Oh well, that was kind of this is where he's really dark with this. This was actually the most. I was pulled into this read more than anything because of the level of darkness here. We're looking at a character that is essentially suffering from PTSD and has been mentally or is now handicapped and retired from their quote unquote workforce of what they were doing. And now this person wants nothing more than to die and to end because they can't die. No friends, nobody comes over and visits. This person's one connection to the outer world is this weekly phone call that she gets, and she's looking for her paycheck. So this connects to so many different people on so many different levels. As far as I forget the phrase, but when they're agoraphobic or something like that, where they don't go outside. What is that term? Help me out with that
Is
one.
it agoraphobic?
I think it's where people they don't go outside. They can't stand contact or interaction with other people, but yet then they're completely and utterly alone and in pain because of it.
Yeah,
And
so agoraphobia, by definition, and I will share this, is an anxiety disorder characterized by symptoms of anxiety in situations where the person perceives their environment to be unsafe with no easy way to escape. Situations can include open spaces, public transit, shopping centers, or simply being outside their home. So yes, you nailed it.
Not entirely the same because she can't die, so she's not afraid of those areas or those things. It's her appearance that she doesn't want to that share. And then so she wears these masks that we were talking about, and she can't. The masks only last a certain period of time before they degrade and fall off her face. But she can't get rid of them because they've become a part of her now. So that's a disgustingly weird thing. That's like a snake shedding its skin and then not getting rid of it because, oh, hey, that's a part of me. I'm going to keep it. Like a hoarder aspect of a disgusting hoarder aspect of it. And now that she's in this story, she's a compulsive chain smoker. She turns her masks into ashtrays, which is also doubly kind of gross. It's dark. It's dark. It's different. It's kind of scary. Like, somebody suffering that much completely alone and segregated is kind of a scary thought.
Yep. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. I actually did enjoy this one.
Which one was your favorite out of all four?
I mean, I liked the cat one. I liked 3 out of the 4. And I don't hate the Shakespeare one. I just don't. It's not what I was expecting. Maybe they would have read better as they came out as issues, like month to month. I don't know. I just
It is an odd group of issues to put together, and like I'm wondering why. I feel like there's a reason why these 4 issues in the middle of these are the only issues are the only volumes that have 4 issues. You know,
yeah, because
I'm
they don't
wondering
fit
if
in with it.
there's a filler volume.
There's
You
no overarching plot line that's going on like in the first 2 volumes. But the first 2 volumes have very, issue to issue storylines that you were following that get pretty much wrapped up by the end of the volume, right?
Mhm.
This is not that. This is he decided to, hey, I'm going to write, now let's write some one offs. And he did that for a little bit. Maybe he didn't know exactly what he wanted to do with the next arc of the story. And he
Right.
just did this instead. But yeah, I mean, they're just weird. This one, by the way, has no Sandman too.
No, but it does have his sister.
Yes,
Death.
and I love that. By the
Mhm.
way,
Yep. I think this was honestly my favorite read out of the 4. The cat one I liked as a close second. Oh man, I don't know. It's tough. I'm not going to sit here and struggle to figure out which one I like better, but or how kind of an order I have them in. But this one I liked. There's that panel with what if my baby's a freak, and she's looking at all the kids, and it's just one kid missing an arm, another kid in a wheelchair, and another kid that's half missing an arm, and she calls them freaks, and they make her skin crawl, and that's terrible. And then on the next page, Element Girl's face falls off into her spaghetti bolognese or whatever, and it's just comical at that point.
I totally asked Riley to make me some spaghetti tonight after I read this too.
Oh yeah, that really put you in the mood for some
It did.
spaghetti.
Every time I see like food on TV or reading it, man, I want
I
it.
think this made it so I don't want to eat spaghetti in like 6 months. Would be my take from this.
God, spaghetti does sound good.
Right? Thank you.
But yeah, I sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was gonna just kind of piggyback off of like some of my favorite issues of this one. The first one I would have liked more if it was stretched out. Like if all 4 were about that one writer and the trapped girl and the prisoner muse. I thought that would have been very sufficient for a volume 3. But this is the one that we're talking about right now is probably my second favorite, then the cat, then Shakespeare. But they're all pretty good. I mean, they're all fine for me. I mean, like you said, Jackson, there's nothing here that's steering me away from picking up volume 4.
Yeah, well, especially since you already purchased it.
Oh God, wow. Well, on that note, Jackson, I got a serious question.
Okay.
What?
Joke.
Damn it.
Yes.
What?
I mean, do you want to save it? You want to save it for next week, Andy, or do you want to just let it fly
Sorry.
anyway?
No. I got a new one. I've got a new one every week. I try to have. What? Oh, you got to bring them back. What?
I didn't do that. He did that himself.
I got to put myself on timeout.
What is the difference between an old bus station and a lobster with breast implants? One is a crusty bus station. The other is a busty crustacean.
Oh.
Bum.
I just learned something new about lobsters this week, guys, by the way. It's funny you brought a lobster joke up. Did you know that lobsters are either right or left-handed like humans are? Did you know this? Yes, and that one of them is more muscular for like breaking hard objects, and the other one has like more blocky teeth on its claws, and the other one is for ripping and tearing. So it's smaller and it doesn't have it has more sharp claws, and you can tell which hand they are because one of them is physically larger than the other. So yeah, so there you go. Learn something new every day. And they're both delicious. Yes, they're all delicious. Correct. Yes, they are all delicious. But yeah, that's all I've got really for Sandman. I'll give this section like a B-. I wasn't very into this, but maybe that's sacrilege to Midsummer Night's Dream issue is the greatest fucking thing of all time, but I wasn't feeling that. So
I'm gonna go with a B+ because the more we talk about it, the more I see the connecting fibers from the second volume and even from the first. And I think a second read through fully without skipping bits and pieces here and there would it would read a lot better now.
I'd give it a solid B. I'll go with a average. I enjoyed it.
I just realized I skipped ahead. We didn't even talk about the death stuff, really.
Yeah, I was wondering, because that's got to be one of your favorite parts there. I love the fact that Element Girl's completely like, oh, you're who? I know who you are. Thank God you're here for me. She's elated. And she's like, no, I was just walking by. The door was open. You were crying. Just adding to her depression.
Yes. Yeah, that was excellent. She's basically begging for death. And death shows up. And what did you think of the resolution there? Like, that was weird, I thought.
I liked it because death can't just take life.
Death can't kill. Death is just a mediator between the living world and the next, I guess, afterlife, right?
Yeah.
It's the fairy. Yeah.
So she, it's she kind of like, well, here's the god of, here's Ra. She talked about, what was it, the orb?
Yeah.
And then, well, he's still there, but because she has her blinders up and she's stuck in her own little mini world the whole time, she never looks outside. She never thinks about that factor.
Right.
Yeah.
The sun she's like, I'd never realized before, the sun, it's just a mask too, and the face behind it, it's beautiful. And then that's, yep, right there. That's end scene for her.
Yeah, so she looked into the sun and it just killed her.
God answered her prayers. That God answered her
I'm
prayers.
so curious now. I mean, so she had such a. We got so little. We saw the beginning and the end of Element Girl. Like, what are her comic books about? Like in DC?
I don't know, but Gore Vidal has come to save the episode. So he's gonna. I'm assuming if we just sit here and let him go, he can explain all this to us. But basically, human conditions explored in each story. So yes, that is true. Each story does have something very profound to say, I would say. Now, Gore, if you're listening here, I don't know how long you've been in the chat, but we were talking about the Shakespeare one in general. And I think that, is it important moving forward to have a knowledge of Shakespeare's, writing, or specifically A Midsummer Night's Dream? Is that important to have a knowledge of that story moving forward? Because it seemed to me that particular issue would have been a lot more rewarding to me if I knew that story better than I do. But yes. All right.
I think you'll enjoy what's coming in the next volume. Be ready for detours and storytelling. That's something Neil does throughout the series.
Interesting.
Okay.
I'm kind of reading this digitally, kind of digging, actually, now that I figured out using my computer, I can use one screen over here and read it. The guided view still does a terrible job, like dissecting the artwork and the panels and whatnot, but I'm going to dive right into volume 4 probably tonight, right after the show.
I'm pretty excited. Did you guys see that they're doing an audiobook version of Sandman with like a whole bunch of well-known actors doing the audiobook?
Morgan Freeman.
Where, I mean, if you wanted to, you can actually like read along with it and like listen to it as you're looking through the stories.
Oh, okay, that would be dope.
That would be cool. So Andy, am I to take it that you're picking Sandman Volume 4 then for next week?
Shit. I mean, are we? Who's picking? Yeah, you're one of you guys are picking, right?
No, it's you.
Yeah. Let's do Volume 4. Let's just go. How many more volumes are there? Because this has been really good.
I think
there's a ton.
No, I thought it was 8 to 10. I thought it was like, I didn't think there was that much.
I thought there was way more. Or if you want, I also just picked something up. The first Popeye.
Volume 4, Sandman.
So let's go ahead and let's see. 75 issues. Let's see. 75 plus one special. So there's one special issue. So we're going to have to look out for that.
So if Saga was 52, right, and that was 9 trade paperbacks, this would probably be what? Yeah, probably 10 to 12, I guess. Yeah, you're right.
So we're not quite halfway there.
Yeah, there's 10 volumes. And we have to be on the lookout because like I said, so like volume 4 is Season of Mist collecting 21 through 28, and then A Game of You is the next volume, and that's 32 through 37. So 29, 30, and 31 aren't in a volume. Oh wait,
Really?
yes they are. They're in Fables and Reflections. They've just got them in the wrong order here.
So it's funny, on the back of this, it gives me the entire order of everything.
Okay. Yeah, so make sure keep that handy because
Yeah.
like I'm not seeing which volume issues. Wait a minute.
It doesn't have the volume issues. It just says which volumes to pick up next. So this one is Seasons of Mist. The next one would be Game of You. Then Fables and Reflections would be the next one, followed by all this other stuff.
Oh, it has that as well digitally on the last page, the back of the cover, basically.
Sweet. Okay, so by the way, Gore says he thinks we're going to enjoy volume 4 a lot. So
Cool.
So Andy, that's the pick. We're going to trudge through this.
Let's do that. Yeah, because it's easier to stay kind of on topic. Like I'm not saying like the next read we pick, oh, there's 20 volumes, let's read the whole thing. But we've enjoyed Sandman well enough, and this has made us really think. It's made me think a lot deeper than I thought I would have to in a read, which I'm actually enjoying quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I mean, you're telling me that 30 Days of Night wasn't a great choice, Andy?
I don't think very often, but I'm assuming this is something that most.
Well, you want to know what's hilarious? Like the day after we read 30 Days of Night, I saw on social media posts that Comic Tom 101 picked up a grail of his, which was like an original script of that book, 30 Days of Night. And he was going through the art, and all I was doing was looking at that. I was like, ooh, I'm glad he's a fan because.
And Gore, by the way, this does not surprise me because they did hint at the history between her and Sandman moving forward. So I would assume that that's going to be the case. But yeah, that's it for me on this one. Everybody want to say goodbye, starting with we'll go backwards this time. Mike this time.
Cool. See you guys. Thanks for joining. Gore, appreciate your knowledge as always. We'll be back here again next week. So make sure you guys stay tuned.
And Andy.
Stay tuned. Yeah, volume 4 next week. Looking forward to that. And in the meantime, check out the Bored and Annoyed YouTube channel and check out my own channel where I'm doing some content on Mondays and Wednesdays now, I believe.
Sweet. Yeah. And yeah, definitely go watch, especially if you're a Dark fan, watch our episode from this last week because we talked about it for like an hour. And it was circular like the fucking show is. But yes. And by the way, Gore, if you ever want to hop in on a Sandman discussion, let us know because we would.
There's room right here.
Yes, right here in this corner. Or you can just replace Andy. I mean, you know, he can take a week off. Now, we won't be doing this next weekend, right? Because you're going to be gone. So this will be in 2 weeks will be our episode.
Oh, yeah. You're camping.
I'll be available next Saturday. It's that Sunday, Monday that I'm not available.
Ah, okay. All right, perfect.
So we can definitely get together if the schedules allow on the 25th.
Sweet. All right, so plan on that. Hit the notification bell on this YouTube channel. Subscribe. Yeah, and follow all of our shit because, you know, I mean, we're just awesome, right? I mean, that's bottom line.
Well, you guys are. I'm just here.
You guys are better than me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the fake what do you call that? Humbleness, humility. I'll make up. Have a good one, everybody.